The situation continues to worsen in Iraq as a group of Sunni extremists known as ISIL is now within just 60 miles of Baghdad. Yesterday, Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel ordered the aircraft carrier USS George H.W. Bush into the Persian Gulf while the Pentagon waits on a final decision on military options to stop the advance. In Baghdad, dozens have flocked to military volunteer centers to stop the advance of the al-Qaeda-linked group, and there are reports that Iran has sent 2,000 troops to Iraq in the past 48 hours to help out. So pressure is mounting on President Obama to take action, but the president has made it very clear he will not put any troops on the ground. It's up to Iraq to come up with a plan to tackle the violence. And that's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you. You can share your thoughts on Facebook and on Twitter. Joining us live in the newsroom is Fox 26 legal analyst Chris Tritico, Fox 26 news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
All right, what are your thoughts on this one?
You know, in 2003, when President Bush announced that we were invading Iraq and bringing down Saddam Hussein, I had a radio show at that time, and I said on the air then, and I'll repeat now, this is a bad idea. Destabilizing that country in the way that we're going to do it is going to cause the United States to have a presence there and to intervene in there for many years to come. And it will cause a civil war, and that is precisely what happened. I think that the problem that exists today in Iraq can be traced back to George Bush's decision to go in, George Bush's decision to sign a deal for when the troops would pull out before he left office, and Barack Obama's failure to cancel that deal as soon as he took office. I don't know who's up. Jackie Bally. This situation has been brewing for a very long time. We propped Saddam Hussein up. We gave him arms so he could fight Iraq. We made him who he was. Then we took him out, and we left that country without an effective leadership structure when we pulled out.
This has been brewing for a long time. That's probably one of the few points I agree with in your statements. Prime Minister Tony Blair wrote a scathing op-ed criticizing the Obama administration. He said opposite of what you said. He praised the Bush administration, said Bush went in there, did what he was supposed to do. Obama came in, did not do what he was supposed to do. I think regardless of what Bush did, what Obama did, we are now in this position. The president, our current president, is looking at very difficult decisions he has to make. I think
sending troops in at a time when the public doesn't support it.
I was just going to say, I think he made the correct statement. We as Americans, we as his residents and citizens, we do not want to get involved in another war, and he is very good at reading the perception of his voters and the viewpoints of his voters. And what decision he makes, no matter what he makes, is going to be a very difficult decision.
And no matter what he does, maybe the wrong decision. I mean, if Iran is going to send troops in there, that's really a nightmare situation for the United States, isn't it?
It is, and Canada, I don't really care what Tony Blair thinks. Tony Blair was part of the problem, and that's why we went into the war, and he partnered with W to go in and invade Iraq. It was a wrong decision then, it's a wrong decision now, we're still paying the price for it. This is escalating. The ISIS, what it's called, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, which is a broader conflict that they're engaged in, is such an extremist group that even Al-Qaeda has stepped away from them, meaning that if Al-Qaeda is disowning you, then you're it's very difficult.
The president's going to have to do something. I mean, we're going to have to go in and fix what we started.
I don't, there was a statement by Colin Powell that said, if you broke it, you own it. I don't think that's true. We've owned it for over a decade now. At some point, we have to start walking away from this because it's a perpetual conflict. It is a civil war, and we can't be the
I want to come back and talk about that in a minute, Jackie Bally, but first I want to go to Donnelly. She's monitoring our social media.
Yeah, Chris, on Facebook, David Canada says the U.S. should not respond. He says, we went, we saw, and we failed to turn the tide. What makes anyone think anything would be different this time? Also, John Covarrubias says America is tired of war, especially the useless ones.
And I think that sentiment is certainly, as Jackie said, is what the president is paying attention to, is that the American public is tired of war. They're tired of this war. But we created this situation by destabilizing the Iraqi government, and we left them without an effective government, Jackie Bally. Don't we have an obligation, whether we send troops on the ground or not, don't we have an obligation to intervene somehow to stabilize that country again?
No, we don't. I believe that we need to stay out of it. I do agree with a lot of the sentiment that Tony Blair, and the reason why I brought him up is because Britain is seen as our ally, and if he's losing faith in our president and his foreign policy initiatives, then a lot of people are losing faith. Look, we tried to resolve this problem. President Bush did a very good thing, but that's in the past.
Resolve what problem? What was the problem?
Well, first of all, this war is not just about a war against Westerners, which it is. It's a war against themselves. You're having two different cultural groups fighting against themselves. We tried to bring democracy. We tried to bring peace into this country. Whenever the current president decided to pull out the way he did, that's how things continue to fall apart. He said that he didn't know that this was happening, even though we had intelligence. We spent $80 million on intelligence, and as far back as 3 years ago, intelligence said that what is happening right now was going to happen.
All right, let me bring Mustafa in. We're almost out of time. Jackie says that the current president is the problem for pulling out the way he did. George Bush set that policy when he left office.
George Bush set that policy, and the reason why we pulled out completely was Maliki government in Iraq wanted the U.S. soldiers to be governed by Iraqi law, not by our military code. That's unacceptable to the United States. We would not put our soldiers in harm's way in a foreign country and subject them to another country's law, and that's why we moved out completely.
All right, we're going to leave it there. I can't talk today.
And I want to wish both of my colleagues happy Father's Day.
Thank you so very much.
Happy
Jackie
Dad's
got
Day.
us some great Father's Day gifts.
Great gifts.
Oh, that's so sweet. If you guys are grilling out, I'll have a steak or two. Thanks, guys. Happy Dad's Day. Bye, Jackie.
Bye.